Buddy, how are you? Good. It's a bit dark here today. As you can see, it's probably raining. But we're just going to get on with it. So today, I'm going to talk about modified scales, constructing scales, that kind of thing. It's a kind of follow up to the video I did about Allan Holdsworth type chord voicings. But I'm going to try and do something similar with the scales. Now, the thing with like the scales, I mean, you see a lot of like the analysis of with the modes and oh, this is a melodic something or other, sharp 6, flat this, that and the other. But while you're doing that, it kind of like it regresses you back to the days of being at school, where like the teacher would be putting something up on the blackboard and you couldn't read it properly, or you didn't understand what it was, and you're trying to copy it down, and then you ask a question and they say, well, I've just put it on the board. Well, anything that's external to you, you're going to find a lot harder to learn than things which actually come from here, from within. So what I mean, bear in mind, I'm to a degree, I'm going to be guilty of that myself, because I'm showing you something. But what I want to show you is unlocking stuff that you already know, and just taking it those few steps beyond what you know. Okay, that's that part of the introduction. The second part, a few years ago, there was this film came out with Don Cheadle and Ewan McGregor, Miles Ahead, and it was all about Miles Davis in the mid-70s. It seems to have just gone to ground for like about 5 years or so. What happened to him? And he burns out. And he had some sort of a breakdown or something. I don't know. But part of the plot revolves around recovering. I don't want to spoil it too much, but it revolves around recovering this tape which he made. And when they actually play it, it just sounds really weird and avant-garde. It's kind of in keeping with the stuff that Miles was doing, say on like the Bitches Brew type sessions, and where he was just trying to break down the forms and break down the barriers between jazz and rock and classical music and world music even. But there's the one particular scene in it, and you'll know it, where there's a character in it called Junior, who's sort of like a real Miles Davis fan, and he's trying to copy as much of Miles's style. And of course, Miles is worried about this because, well, he hasn't been on the circuit for 5 years. Is he still popular? And then here comes this young upstart who's actually copying everything down to the way he dresses and some of the ways he plays, but it's not him. So he's kind of competing against this sort of other version. So anyway, there's this one scene where they're playing this tape, and this Junior character, he starts jamming along to it, and then Miles looks at him and goes, "That's not in my music." And everybody's going, "Huh? What do you mean?" And then he sort of like, he goes over to the piano and he plays this cluster of notes, and he says, right, well, within this cluster you can play this note and this note, but not that note, because that doesn't fit, or it's not in keeping with the actual sound that we're going for. So when you think of it like that, we've got to actually start moving beyond the modal patterns which you've probably picked up from magazines. Maybe you've been taught, maybe you've been struggling to learn them, and just get back to just how does it sound. And this is something that Allan Holdsworth in particular, that he seems to be the natural successor to what Miles was trying to do. So I'm just going to show you some of those things. Okay, now first of all let's get familiarised with the basic modes. But the way I'm going to play them, and I did this in a recent video as well, if we start from light to dark in terms of tonalities, then we actually start with Lydian, the Lydian mode in the key of C, on a guitar. It goes something like this. Right, so that's Lydian. Next one is the Ionian, which is basically a C major scale. But you'll notice that playing this C, a fourth below, or you're playing this C a fifth below the F. You know, it has to be. So always a fourth above, it will be Lydian. But if I'm playing the C, yeah, and then you'll start to see those patterns. Next one is Mixolydian, and then you'll see the pattern again. And now in key of C major, we're starting on G. So that G is always above C, which is always above F. Okay. Next one would be Dorian. That starts on D. So you can see that now we're starting to see this pattern again, because that's G, isn't it? So we're just playing that above here, and if I was to play the D Dorian here, so that always comes above the Mixolydian, always. And next comes Aeolian, which is A. Now, so that A is always above D, which is above G, which is above C, which is above F, and so on and so on. Now what's next? Phrygian. So I'm going to play Phrygian here. Now that pattern, that's above the A. So wherever you are, you'll start to identify those patterns, and suddenly it becomes much more accessible. Now what's next? The Locrian. So we've gone from Phrygian, now we're going to Locrian. So that always comes above, Phrygian. Run out of notes, but if there was another string here, I'd be playing the pattern repeat, and then from the Locrian, right, because we're in B, yeah. But if I'm playing Locrian here, then then the next one, it has to be Lydian. Now, if I'm playing on one string patterns, then all those modes I've just gone through, then they're based on standard shapes here, like that you can play on one string. So that has to be a major pattern of some kind. I could play it like that, or I could play it like that. As long as I've got those intervals in, I know that's the major chord. if I'm playing that, I know that's a minor of some kind. I don't know what yet. If I'm playing it here, it's Phrygian. If I'm playing it here, then it's either Aeolian or Dorian. Or if I go like this, that's chromatic, but then that's kind of like mashing it up a bit more, and then that might give you some options as well. You know, rather than just, oh, I've got picking practice to do today, oh, you know, that sort of thing. Then we can actually just turn that into musical ideas. So what I thought we could look at is just ways of like combining these different shapes. Now, if we're starting here, if you're just playing Lydian, then you just be blasting through that. Yeah, but if I go like that, then I could go here. Or even just on one string. That's just the whole tone scale. Whole tone, we mean that's a tone, that's a semitone. So that's a whole tone. So that's a whole tone scale. It's an idea you get in a lot of like modernist music. Just reverting back to these patterns. And then same with this one. If I just go, that's a diminished or some, or half diminished or some. But I can do a lot with that. And you know that from your blues scale. The other position of it. And so on. So I've got some chorus on at the moment. So I'm just going to set this up, put a bit of drive in. Now, you see how I was just modulated there. I mean, like you could try and write that down, but it's much easier to think of it as like, right, well, I'm playing this shape for this part, and then I'm changing to this shape for this next part just to add a bit of drama. There's also something we can do as well, that like if we're familiar with the modes, then we can play arpeggios over it. Now I know from Lydian and Ionian that's major 9, so that's more like major 7. That'll be a minor one. On the Phrygian one, it's slightly, you don't play that, but that's the so you're playing that flat 9 there. But if you want to compare them now. outside. So you can do a lot with it. All it means is just like looking at the shapes, and if you've got the chord chart written down, then you've got some of the chord, and then so you can just play the arpeggio and then add some of the notes from the scale into that. Quickly before I go, there's one more thing I want to show you. It's like going back to like the chromatic. Now, rather than just doing that's boring. What we're going to do is we're going to do like some a hammer-on exercise, but it's something musical that you can use as well. So you can do that on one string. Or on multiple string. And then use the volume just to add a bit of texture. We'll do that backwards. Yeah, so I hope I've explained that to you. Please comment below. If you like the video, please consider subscribing as well. I'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Let's hope the weather's better next time.